Hello and welcome to this video. In this video I am going to talk about the tools used for jewelry making. I have some examples of tools here. I brought some pliers, scissors, needle, and also some other tools like a lighter, a measuring tape, and this ring that I will explain to you what it actually is, and of course some pincers for the small parts. So when you make handmade jewelry, you also need to have some specific tools. As you can see, some of the tools are very similar to the tools used, for example, if you make repairs in the house. But although they are similar, you must take into consideration that the tools that you use for your jewelry are much smaller, and they are a bit different from the tools that you generally use in your house, around your house. So it is not recommended to use the tools that you use for repairs when you make your jewelry, because they are much too large and they are inappropriate for jewelry making. The jewelry making tools can be found in online or in specific shops that sell jewelry items, jewelry tools, findings, beads, and whatever you need to make your jewelry. So as you can see here, many of the tools that you will use for your jewelry are those pliers. Let's begin with one of those pliers. This type of plier is used very often, so you will surely need such a pair of pliers if you want to make handmade jewelry, because its shape and the way it is built will help you create all sorts of jewelry. You can create earrings, you can create necklaces with this, you can create bracelets, anklets, all sorts of rings. All sorts of jewelry can be created with this type of pliers. These pliers are called chain nose pliers. As you can see, these pliers have these elongated parts towards the end here. They are made to grab small items like findings, for example, and as you can see, they are pointed here and very narrow, so you can grab a very small item with these pliers, for example jump rings, and you can bend pins, for example, with them, or do other actions that imply using this small tip for very tiny parts, metal parts. So this type of pliers will be used very often when you make your jewelry. You'll be opening and closing jump rings, you'll be bending the pins for your earrings, and so on. As you can see, a specific thing that you can notice at this pair of pliers is the fact that these pliers have no teeth here. As you can see, the surface is very flat, it has no teeth, and the purpose of this flat surface is that it does not scratch the metal of your findings. As you can see, it also has this surface here, and you can use it for cutting pins. For example, if you want to cut a pin, you can use this part of your pliers to cut the pins. So this is the most widely used type of tool for jewelry, handmade jewelry. Another item that you will be using when you make your own jewelry is the this type of this tool. These pliers are the cutting pliers, which are used for cutting wire, for cutting pins. So they use like normal, they look like normal cutting pliers, only that they are much smaller, because your jewelry is made up of items that are very small. Uh, if you notice a particular detail here on your on the tool, is the fact that it has a spring right here. There is this spring, and the purpose of this spring is that the tool should open immediately after you have used it. So if I take a pin and cut the pin, in order to cut another pin or to use the tool again, it should open on your own like this. So I cut and it opens on its own, so I can cut again. So it opens, I cut, and it opens again. So what you have to notice about the jewelry making tools is that they must have this spring here in order to help you work faster, because it will open the pliers while you are working, so that you can have one hand free and work simply with this pair of pliers without having to open and close it, because it will open this way automatically. Another type of tool are these pliers. As you can see, these pliers look a little bit different. They have these ends here rounded. As you can see, they are rounded, and the purpose of this rounded end here is that you can make the loops for your jewelry using these rounded ends. And as you can see, this end, the top end, is narrower, whereas the base is wider. And why is this? If you want to make a smaller loop, you will make the loop towards the top of the pliers, and if you want to make a smaller loop, a larger loop, sorry, you will use the base of the pliers here, because this base is larger. So if you wrap the metal, the loop that you want to make around this base of the pliers, the loop will be larger than here at the top. So you can decide whether you want to make a larger or a smaller loop by choosing where on the pliers you make the loop out of the wire. What you also have on this tool is this area here, which is also used for cutting. So you can also cut with this part, and if you can see here some indentation, this very small orifice here is for the crimps. So if you can see here at the end, this small hole is for the crimps. So this tool is multi-purpose, but the basic use of this tool will be the making of loops on your jewelry. So for example, if you want to make a pair of earrings, you will create the loops using this part of the pliers. As you can see, this tool also has a spring, only that this spring looks different from the previous spring. So as you can see, this was the spring on the cutting pliers, whereas this is the spring on the round nose pliers. So this spring looks like two sheets of metal which are joined in the middle, but they also have the same role to open and to close the pliers. Now let's see the last pair of pliers that I wanted to show you. This pair of pliers looks different. It has this end here with these orifices, and it is used for closing the crimps. So this is a pair of crimping pliers. These pliers also have a spring, only that this spring looks different from the other two springs. It is like a piece of wire that is wrapped like this, and put the crimps in these orifices and you can close them. So you can use this tool on any type of jewelry that you make which contains crimps. For example, if you want to make a bracelet, you will use this pair of pliers to close the crimps on your bracelet. And now let's continue with another tool. This weird thing here is nothing more than a simple pair of scissors which opens and closes like this. It has the spring inside here. If you can see at the end here, there is a spring. You can see it here better. And it opens and closes our scissors. And you will use the scissors pretty often if you want to make, for example, a bracelet, and you use string for a thread for that bracelet. You will use the scissors to cut the string. Also, if you want to make a necklace and you want to use a cord, you will cut the cord with the scissors. So anything you want to cut, you will use a pair of scissors. Of course, there are other types of scissors, but this is a typical pair of scissors used for jewelry making. Also, if you want to make a necklace and you use nylon cord, you can use a lighter, and you can burn the ends of the cord if they are made of nylon. So for burning the ends of the cord, you will use the lighter. The pincers are not necessarily used when jewelry making, 'cause if you can grab the small parts with your fingers, you don't need to use the pincers. But in case that you want to grab small parts that you cannot grab with your fingers, you can use the pincers. You can also use the pincers if you want to make knots, for example, on a bracelet. If you have a beaded bracelet and you want to make a knot at the end, you can use the pincers in order to make this knot. Another tool is this tool, this ring. As you can see, this ring has some openings here and on this side, and this ring is called the jump ring opener. It's called the jump ring opener because it is used, as the name says, for opening and closing the jump rings. You will not simply use it this way. You will also need the chain nose pliers, so you will put the jump ring inside these orifices here, and then you'll grab the jump ring with the pliers and open it or close it. So this is the jump ring opener, which is always used with the pliers. Of course, if you do not have a jump ring opener, you can use two pair of pliers to open and close the jump rings. I also brought a measuring tape, which is very useful. This measuring tape has two faces. It has inches on this side and it has centimeters on the other side, and you can measure very easily the wrist, for example, or for a bracelet, or if you want to make an anklet, you can measure how long the anklet should be. If you want to make a necklace, you can make a shorter necklace, can make a longer necklace. So it is very useful to have this tool around, because you can easily wrap it, for example, around the wrist like this, and you can easily find out how long the bracelet should be. And so it's a practical tool. If you want to measure in another way, or if you have the dimension of the bracelet, then you do not need a measuring tape. But generally it is very useful to have one around. And the last tool that I wanted to show you is this needle. As you can see, it's called the Big Eye beading needle. So it looks this way. As you can see, it is closed at this end and it is also closed at this end, and it has this large space in between the two ends, like this. So what do we use this needle for? We use it for beading, as its name says. So you will put the thread inside in this space here, and then you will put the beads on the needle. And this is how you can put the beads on a thread. So for your beading projects, this needle is very useful. So now I have shown you all the tools that I wanted to show you. So these are the main tools that you will use for your beading projects, and you will be able to make all sorts of jewelry with those tools. You can make earrings, bracelets, anything that you like to make, you can make it with those tools. So now you can begin with making your own handmade jewelry, if you have some beads, if you have the findings. And I wish you a lot of fun with your handmade jewelry projects.